Are there any drummers in the house?
I play percussion. That's because you couldn't play anything else.
Shut up. Come here, dude.
Hey, man. Did you touch my drum set? I am warning you right now, if you touch my drum, I will stab you in the neck with a knife. Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
Hey guys, if you could go subscribe to the show on iTunes, that would be fantastic. Also, if you could give us a 5-star review, if you could. Also, go like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, go subscribe to us on YouTube. Yeah, we do a couple videos from time to time. Also, go follow us on Tumblr. And if you want to support the show, you could go to our fan page on PayPal, which is paypal.me/thedrumheadspod. So if you could do one of those or all of those, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads, and this is going to be one of the weekly podcasts, hopefully, where I talk about something that's relevant to the drumming community. So something that I've been wanting to talk about is drummers and Instagram, and how those two go hand in hand these days, and all the stuff that goes on with that. So I have a list of 10 things. I'm going to put it up as well with the podcast. So first is post consistently. Now, this may sound funny to some people, but it's actually not. You'll be amazed of how many drummers' profiles or drumming companies who post on a erratic, kind of schizophrenic kind of pace. They'll post 1,000 things on one day, and then they'll go like 2 weeks, and then they'll post a bunch again. And it's not consistent. And the thing with being a drummer, or if you're a company, is consistency with your audience. And if they're not seeing stuff basically on a daily basis, it doesn't have to be multiple times a day, whatever fits whatever you're doing. But at least once a day is the best. And you have the built-in analytics into, especially if you have, I have mine set up as a business profile, so I can see when are the peak times to post, where most of my following is, things like that. So I have a general idea of where the audience is at. So I have a lot of fans in Australia, so you have to take into effect that there's time differences, all that fun stuff. So consistency is the best way to go with being on social media for sure. Don't just leave it to the wayside. So number two is using the built-in editing features of Instagram. So a lot of people, again, do not really understand that there are things that you can help your content be better through using the built-in editing platforms on Instagram. So let's take a picture, for example. You can snap a picture of something, let's say a symbol. Okay, well, maybe the lighting is not that great. Maybe there's a shadow. Maybe there's too much other background noise going on. If you go into the edit part of it, you can actually change the lighting. You can make it brighter. You can make it darker. You can take some shadow away. You can add some other things, like you can take the structure button, which allows you to enhance something. So let's take a snare drum, a wood snare drum. You want to really bring out the wood grain detail that's going on with that. If you slide that structure button on Instagram, it'll actually enhance it, and it just makes it pop. So use that. And also for videos, don't be afraid to use the other filters. Don't be afraid to clip your time. Gives you a minute to post on Instagram, but not everything warrants a minute. So let's say you're working on a groove, and you've got 30 good seconds of that groove. Post just the 30 seconds and clip it at that. You don't have to keep it going on for the whole minute. So if you're doing a groove and then all of a sudden you start going into a drum solo. If it fits, keep it in. If it doesn't, you don't have to keep it in. So use those built-in things to enhance your content so it just looks more presentable. Third is hashtags. Now, here are the appropriate hashtags when it comes to being a drummer. Drums, drum, drummer, drumming, things like that. You know, if it's a cymbal, cymbals, cymbal, the brand of cymbals. Let's say you're using Sabian, Sabian cymbals, Sabian. Those are appropriate hashtags for what you are doing. Now, here are the ones, in my opinion, they're just kind of trigger words, or they're buzzwords, or they're just kind of clickbaity. So these are words that I don't think really are appropriate to use in a music or drumming context. Sexy, sex, hot, vacation, things like that. They're so vague, but they're not going to really apply to what you're trying to accomplish. So, okay, you put up a picture of a snare drum and you add the word sexy to the hashtags. Well, when you click on that, the top posts are going to be of things that are sexy. Now, some people will say, hey, well, that's a sexy looking drum. That's fine. I would put that maybe in the whatever you're wording, in the wordage. I don't know if that's a word, just made it up. Put it in that. Put it in the context of that. Like, this is a sexy drum. Perfectly fine. Adding the hashtag sexy may not be, it won't do you any really good, because if you click on that hashtag, it's going to bring up things that are sexy. So it's either going to bring up a female or a male or something like that. You know, supermodel, who knows? So when you put those trigger words in, no one's going to go and look for those words when they're thinking of drums. They're going to think of those words and say, when they see sex, they're going to think of it in the act or something that's sexy. So it's not really going to behoove you to do that. I know a lot of drummers and a lot of people think if you add all these crazy hashtags, it's going to gain you more exposure. That's wrong. Having the relevant hashtags that go along with what you're promoting. So, like if I was doing baseball, okay, I'm on a baseball park. Let's say, okay, I like the Red Sox. Okay, Red Sox, hashtag Red Sox, hashtag Fenway Park, hashtag baseball, hashtag whatever. Things that go along, Boston. That makes sense because that's related to baseball. Anything else, you take whatever it is. So if you're into cars, you'd be like, all right, hashtag Chevy, hashtag Camaro, hashtag sport, muscle car, things like that. That makes sense. But adding those other hashtags is not really going to grow your audience. Which goes along with presentation, how you're presenting yourself on Instagram as a drummer and as a company. So there's a couple of things. One, when it comes to the cover of a video or the cover that's going to be, the picture that's going to be on when you look at someone's profile. So especially with videos, a lot of drummers like to fade into black when they're editing their stuff. That's fine. I really don't get it, because to me, it's a half a second or it's a second of wasted space of fading in. So a lot of drummers won't spend the time to scroll through and find a good cover. So if you're drumming, maybe it's where you're doing a fill and you got some stick blur going on. That's really cool. It's got a nice artistic, flair to it. I get it. Or it's a really cool angle of the drums, or it's a cool angle of your cymbal, whatever. The light's hitting just a certain way. Find that cover, because when people go to your profile, they will see that. And if they just see a black square, they're not going to know what that is unless they click on it. And, 9 times out of 10, they're not, because they're going to think, oh, it's just whatever. It's not relevant. So make sure that you're adding a cover to your video so it looks professional, because when companies or other drummers are looking at your profile and they see just a black square, it's going to turn them off. Also, use the bio, use it to direct traffic to where you want it to. So right now I've got mine set up to the PayPal account for the giveaway we're doing. So we're doing a raffle giveaway, and so that's where I want people to go to buy their raffle tickets. So it makes sense. Now, if I was promoting a podcast, I would change, or a new episode of whatever, I would promote it through there. So use the bio to put out exactly what you're doing, who you are, where you're from, and you've got, I think it's like 160 characters you can work with, so you can really be creative and make it unique, make it your own. Also, using a name that makes sense. Some drummers want to pick these wackadoo names that makes no sense whatsoever. And if you're a drummer in particular, you want to promote yourself. A nickname is okay, but if I was promoting myself, it'd be like, I'd try to figure out how to fit in Daniel Stevens, the drummer, and some type of combination like that. But since I'm using the Drumheads as my company / my show, that makes sense. So it's the Drumheads. Or, it's the Drumheads pod because it started off a podcast, now it's a show. But, you know what I'm saying. But also, it lets people know you're serious about what you're trying to do. Because, you may have like, oh, it's an inside joke. Well, unless they know that inside joke, it's not really going to make sense. So you really want to make sure that your name is a representation of what you're doing. And drum companies are very good about that because, there's no question. Predator Percussion, got it. Predator Percussion, they do something with percussion. SJC Drums, got it. SJC Drums. So it makes sense to have that go along with your drummer name as well because, some people may not get the inside joke or they may not get the nickname. So just keep that in mind as well. Fifth, using Instagram stories to document your everyday life. Now, here's several great things about Instagram stories. One, it's not adding to your main profile page, so it's not gumming it up with just random stuff. Because me personally, I love seeing people's behind the scenes stuff, day-to-day activities, makes them seem real. And I want to see like, oh, setting up for a gig, here's what's going on, or hey, check out this, check out that. Today I went into my shed / studio and found 2 huge wasp nests in my shed. I freaked out, went online, tried to figure out how to get rid of them. I did. And then I posted a video just a second ago on stories about how I figured out how to get rid of them, and I think I was successful. So things like that, or if it's driving down the road for a gig, or, you're in the shop. Let's say you're a custom drum builder. Hey, I just got this 13x6 snare drum I'm working on. Ask a question. You think this hardware looks good? Should I do this other one? People like those interactions. They want to know that you can talk to them, and then they can give you input, and you can give them an input as well. So stories are a great way to document what's going on in your everyday life. Makes you seem more grounded, makes you seem more authentic as a musician or as a company, and it doesn't clog up your feed with all these random posts that if a company went and saw, like, okay, he's eating pizza, yay, they want to see the good stuff. They want to see, they don't want to see the potatoes. They want to see the steak, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but makes sense to me. All right, so yeah, use that for everyday life, but also you can also use it to promote. So I use it to promote other brands. So whether it be Sabian cymbals, had sent me out some cymbals to review. I've been using stories to review those as well, and also putting it on the main page, but also, adding some funny GIFs, adding some music maybe, whatever. There's so many things you can do to enhance the what's going on. Also, if you are fortunate enough to be over the, 10,000 followers amount, you can also embed a link into your stories. So if you're promoting a show, you're promoting a product, you're promoting an episode, if you're doing a podcast or a web show, you can put a link inside that so they can swipe up and then actually go to whatever site you want to. So that is a great benefit of stories as well. So next is moving to proper internet etiquette. Now, there's no harm reaching out to other companies or other drummers to maybe help with promotion and stuff like that. But you've got to learn a balance between being, consistent and respectful, but then not going into the being obnoxious and annoying. So it's a very hard line to find, and you'll know. I have a couple of drummers who love to message me multiple times a day with their videos. I find it so flattering, but at the same time, it's very obnoxious. To be honest, it's just sometimes I don't want to have to look at the video, and a lot of times I delete it. I don't mind looking at it. I try to look at every post I can, but sometimes I just don't see it. So, and if you message me constantly, because I do a lot of business. My wife and I see a lot of messages. So when you're constantly bombarding somebody with messages, they're not gonna want to promote your stuff or work with you. So just one, be nice, don't be a dick, and if they don't respond back to you, do not freak out. Calm down, take a knee, take time out, just relax, because they will eventually get back to you, and if it's something that's relevant to what they're doing. So, if you're just sending them a drum video every day of you drumming, okay, that okay, I get it, but, say like, hey, I'm working on this thing. Do you mind if, we work on a collaboration? Can you help me post this stuff? And if you sent that message maybe one time, or a couple times, I'm fine. But you send it multiple times a day, it's going to start to irritate me, and I'm pretty sure it's going to irritate the other companies that are associated with that post. Because a lot of times these people will post it to as many outlets as they can, and it just starts to wear people down. So, watch your etiquette. Make sure you're being nice. If someone wants to work with you, they will reach out to you. You can't feel like you're owed everything. If you feel like that they owe it to you, then they're not going to want to work with you. They'll find somebody else. And trust me, there are plenty of other drummers they can work with. So you just got to be patient. But you got to be diligent, and you got to be respectful. So I'll just leave that at that. That goes into collaboration. So let's say you want to collaborate with Big Fat Snare Drum, for example. Okay, well, you can't just expect Big Fat Snare Drum to send you Big Fat Snare Drum so you can make videos. You have to show Chris at Big Fat Snare Drum that, okay, you've already bought my product. Thank you. God bless. Okay, now maybe we can work on something. You've got a following. I see what you're doing. You're producing some great content. Yeah, I'll repost some of your stuff. And then maybe down the line, they can send you some other stuff to try out. But you can't just go into it thinking, okay, well, I'm awesome, so why aren't they sending me this stuff? They're not going to send you the stuff because you have to show them that it's reciprocal. That not only are you getting something out of it, but they are getting something out of it. And if it's all you and nothing for them, they're not going to want to do anything. So you've got, that goes back to being respectful and patient. And like I said, they will come to you. You got to offer an olive branch and be like, say, look, I've been using your stuff for a while. Do you mind, hooking me up? And a lot of the times they will. And that goes back to the stories aspect. You can actually, if you tag some of these companies, they will share your story. So that helps, gain exposure and all that fun stuff. So again, it's about being respectful and it's about being kind. Number 8 is being authentic. I can't stress this enough to a lot of young drummers, is you've got to be authentic as who you are as a person. Don't try to be fake. You see these people on Instagram, they're like, oh, I'm in Bali, we're on our 175-foot yacht, just not a care in the world, we're so rich. Okay, awesome, God bless. I don't have a problem with that. But that is not real life. Not all of us are multimillionaires making tons of money. This is not the way it is. So when you show your audience, here's the day job, here's me hanging out with my family, here's us doing something else, here's me and my friends hanging out, here's some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes with the show. It makes you seem real, it makes you accessible to your audience. They're like, oh, that guy is just like me, or that girl is just like me. It makes you accessible, and that is key these days, because there's so much emphasis on being glam and being so woo just awesome that people are getting burnt out of that, and they want to see people in their real life, in their real moment, living in that moment at the time. So, and then, this is the other misconception about, quote, making it on social media. Okay, I have 70,000 followers. Woo! I'm so excited. But the reality is, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just a number. And it's not like these companies are jumping over themselves they're not sending me money. They're not sending me gear. There's a lot of communication, when it comes to some of the stuff I review. It's like, hey, you have to sell yourself, but you have to sell yourself in a reasonable expectation. Selling yourself and be like, well, I got 5,000 followers. Tama, where's the free drum set? Come on, dude. That's not what's going to happen. Tama's not even going to see that message. And again, what's the benefit for them? Okay, you, in your mind, you think you're the best drummer in the world. Okay, every drummer thinks that. So what makes it any different? So again, it's about being authentic. And if you are really hustling it out there, and really pushing the envelope of music, or you're pushing, creatively, all that fun stuff, then yeah, maybe they'll start sending you this stuff. But for me, like I said, it's just a number. Maybe if I had 700,000 followers, maybe, but we're in a very niche market. It's drum. So, yes, there's a lot of drummers, but there's not a lot of people following drummers who aren't drummers. It's not like, let's say, Robert Downey Jr., arguably probably one of the biggest movie stars out there. He's got more than just comic book fans following him. He's got a lot of people who follow him for other things other than being Iron Man. He's a great actor. He's a great role model. He's got a great story because he came from an acting family, then kind of fell off the horse, and then he's had several setbacks in his life. So he's got an interesting story outside of being Tony Stark and Iron Man. So yeah, he can have millions of followers that are not all, Marvel fans. Now, drummers, yeah, there may be some crossover. There might be some bands, your fans, oh, I'm a fan of Taking Back Sunday, so I'll follow the drummer, even though I'm not a drummer. That does happen, but you have to have a reasonable expectation of what your followers are. All your followers are mostly going to be other drummers or other small drum companies just trying to make it out there. So once you get over a certain amount of followers, then you're starting to break over into other aspects of the community. Like Travis Barker has a lot of followers who probably aren't drummers because they're either big Blink-182 fans or they're big fans of his other side projects, and he's a household name. No offense, no one's like going home and talking about the Drumheads. There's probably some people who are, but there's probably a lot of people who, they're finding out about this now. Literally, there's probably like, oh, that's cool, I just found out about this, even though we've been doing it for, almost 6 years. Doesn't matter. You have to realize in your mind that it's going to be your talent. It's going to be your consistency of posting. It's going to be several factors that are going to really factor into your success. And you can't judge it on a number. If you're striving for a number, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Because I did it. When I first started, I thought to be successful in this internet and Instagram game, it's all about achieving a certain number. And that just doesn't happen. And for me, what I did is I made goals for myself is I did giveaways. Now, people will come out of the woodwork for giveaways. Trust me. You could give away whatever, and people just like, they freak out because people just love a good giveaway. I love them. So I based my trying to achieve certain numbers on, okay, well, when I first started, it was like when I hit 500 followers, I'm going to do a giveaway, drumsticks. Okay. When I hit 1,000, I'm going to do this. When I hit 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, I did a giveaway in correlation with all these giveaways. Yes, it may have cost me some money, but if I thought that was how you gained a following, was by your numbers. And yes, some people were just following so they can get free stuff, but other people were doing it to genuinely follow what I was doing. So, if you want to give free stuff away to gain a following, that's fine, but it's not necessary. So if you're really wanting to gain a following, it's all about what you post and who you are as a person. So just keep that in mind. Six, dyslexia. Number 9 is watch out for scammers. Now, there are tons of scammers on Instagram of late. There's these bogus pages that they create, and what they're essentially doing is they're trying to make money off of other people's content, which is so infuriating. So, okay, you're a drummer, and you've posted this video, and it's starting to get a lot of hits. Well, these companies will take that video, put it on their feed, not credit you. That's the thing. If they're not crediting you, that is a problem. Now, if they are, that's fine, but if they're trying to sell a shirt, if they're trying to sell a $35, $40 shirt by using your content, that's messed up, and you shouldn't allow it. I don't allow it. I actively try to go out and shut these guys down because it's infuriating. Because there's a lot of people out there who try to replicate or duplicate the name. They'll say, hey, it's the Drumheads PD. They'll leave out the O and not have the pod, so people will think, oh, this is the Drumheads, and it's really not. It's someone pretending to be me, or they're pretending to be Drummer's Resource, which is another drumming podcast. He's run into this problem as well. And then you take someone like Stan Brignall, or you've got Charlie up in Minnesota. I'm blanking on his last name. He's a great drummer. They take their videos, and then they post them and say, hey, look at this. Tag a friend. Go buy our shirt. There's no mention of Stan. There's no mention of Charlie. There's no mention of Christina. There's no mention of Elise. All these drummers who are making this content are not getting credited, and it's just being used to make money for somebody else. So watch out for that as a drummer. Don't get hooked into those sites. If you see them, shut them down because they're just a scam. So watch out for scammers because it's going to hurt you. You're going to be led into false, pretenses on there's a lot of them out there. It's like, hey, if you pay us $30, we'll post your video. Well, that's a kind of a ripoff. I know they have a large following, and it may give you a little bump, but if you're spending $30 to have your one video posted, you're just getting ripped off. Like, people ask me to post their stuff all the time, and I feel bad because, I could make some money at it. And, if it's a video I like, generally I'll just post it regardless. Now, there's sometimes it's an up-and-coming drummer and they're wanting to get some exposure. I get it. You're a drummer. That's what you're wanting to do. $2 or $3 would be acceptable, but not $30, $50 to have one of your posts shared. Yeah, you may get it's a short-term bump, but it's really not, because people are not going to, how many of those people who, these accounts have 175,000 followers, which a lot of times they've not organically grown. I've never paid to boost my numbers, and a lot of these accounts they'll inflate their numbers so they seem like they're a big deal, and then there's just people that follow them that they're just following them for the sake of following them, and there's no like, oh, I'm gonna go follow that drummer. It's just not how it works. A lot of times you don't get a lot of followers, you don't get a lot of feedback, so just be careful. And what I want to end on is social media, and Instagram in particular, is not about one-upping everyone or the other drummer. There's this toxic atmosphere right now of drummers who, I'm the best. Check out how fast I can play these bass beats. I can play faster than Austin. He's a great blast beat drummer. But again, that is his thing. That is what he's known for. He's built his following on. He's been committed to doing that. So for him, he's gotten good by practicing. And he's not trying to one-up other drummers. Or you take Stan, again, from Australia. You know, he is incredibly gifted with his single, bass drum technique. I mean, he does sound, beats that sound like he's using a double pedal, but he's not. Incredibly gifted drummer. But if your whole attitude is, there's nothing wrong saying, I want to be as good as Stan. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you want to say, I want to be better than Stan, and I want to destroy him and, one-up him, you're not doing anybody a favor. You're not doing yourself a favor. It just makes you look like a dick, and it's not a competition. Music is not a competition. Yes, there are drumming competitions. Drummer or bands base their record sales, their ticket sales, but that's how they make money, and that's how they make a living. So that's not a competition, and especially in this digital age, it's very hard to make a living as a musician unless you are like Korn. You've been this time-tested band who made a living pre-digital age. A lot of these bands are touring. That's how they make their money. It's not from album sales. They may make some. So, again, reasonable expectations. But you can't one-up people. That's not what it's about. So, again, if you're trying to one-up another musician, another drummer, it's just going to make you look bad. So, approach everything with, humility. Be humble. Understand there's going to be other drummers out there that are going to be better than you. Yes, I would love to be as good as Carter Beauford. Probably never going to happen. There's nothing wrong with me trying to strive to be that good. But if I'm actively trying to go out there and say, look, check out, I did this Carter kind of stuff better than Carter did. Good for you. So proud. No, it's just like, calm down. Again, be authentic. Be real. So, I hope this was informative. I hope that you could come away from these podcasts about things that are going on as a drummer. The trials and tribulations of being a drummer in the internet, social media age. There's things you can do to better yourself. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. If you have any ideas for future topics that you would want to hear discussed on the show, please send me a message. Send us one on Instagram, Facebook. You can email it to us, thedrumheadspod@gmail.com. There's multiple ways you can reach out to us. I want to hear your ideas, so I want to have more topics to talk about on this show. So, again, thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your week. Still haven't figured a way to end these podcasts. So, peace.